Welcome, creatures of the night. And people just doing the washing up with headphones in, I see you. You're listening to Selkora Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel, and today we are sinking our teeth into one of the oldest, creepiest, and yet somehow sexiest myths in human history: vampires. Yes, those sharpie-toothed night crawlers who've lurked in folklore for centuries and somehow ended up glittering in high school corridors. We'll get to that. But before we talk Twilight, we are going to rewind way back, like medieval peasant who thinks a sneeze is a demon levels of back.
Stop screaming. Your blood tastes better in silence.
The vampire myth has roots in many cultures: Europe, Asia, even parts of Africa. But the common thread: some poor soul dies, then suddenly crops up again, looking suspiciously beaky and very into necks. Look out! Oh no, it's old Gregor! He died of the plague 3 weeks ago, and now me cow's gone dry, and me son's pale as a boiled turnip. People back then were convinced that the dead were sneaking out of their graves to feed on the living. So what did they do? Well, they dug them up and sometimes staked them, sometimes decapitated them, occasionally set them on fire. These early vampire beliefs weren't about sexy immortals in velvet capes. They were about disease, death, and panic. The idea of a corpse rising again was the only way people could explain mysterious deaths in the family or unexplained illness. But let's fast forward a bit. Enter the 18th century. Eastern Europe, specifically Serbia and Romania. Places that absolutely love a good vampire yarn. You've got real historical reports of vampire hunts, government officials keeping records, villagers giving sworn testimonies. Imagine writing a census and casually adding 1 cow, 2 goats, 3 children. Oh, and yes, Vladimir is undead again. Noted. Now, here is where things start getting stylish. In the 19th century, vampires get a new literary shine. Out goes the stinky grave dweller. In comes Lord Ruthven, the first aristocratic vampire in English fiction, created by John Polidori. In 1819, he's dark, brooding, and wears a cape. But let's be honest, the real king of vampire fiction, Count Dracula. Bram Stoker's Dracula hit the scene in 1897 and everything changed. Everything! This was Victorian England's worst nightmare. An undead foreigner with a taste for British women. Oh yes, and no regard for personal space. I want to suck your blood. Which, fun fact, he never actually says in the book. That line came later from movies and pop culture. But we'll get there. So we have crawled away from the grave to the Victorian library to early cinema. But now things start to get cool. Vampires leave their dusty castles and hit the big screen with style. Let's talk Hollywood vamps. First up, Bela Lugosi, 1931. The man was Dracula. Slick hair, Hungarian accent, hypnotic stare, and let's be honest, he made wearing a cape look cool. I am Dracula. Bro didn't even need fangs, just vibes. But Hollywood couldn't leave well enough alone. In the decades that followed, vampires got weirder and hornier.
Yes, sir.
You had Hammer horror films in the 50s and 60s with actors like Christopher Lee playing Dracula with enough intensity to melt the projector. I shall drink your blood, but only after I seduce you with my eyebrows. And then in the 1980s, where vampires put on leather jackets, joined biker gangs, and started listening to synth music, the Lost Boys gave us teen angst and fanged fashion, Fright Night made your neighbour the vampire next door, and Near Dark said, what if cowboys, but make it undead? At this point, vampires were everywhere. Books, movies, comics, but one film in particular changed the game for a second time. Blade. (1998). Wesley Snipes, sunglasses at night, a half vampire who hunts full vampires. Blade wasn't moody and mysterious. He was angry, cool, and violent. Some motherfucker. Okay. We'll stop the quote there for legal and family-friendly reasons. Blade kicked open the door for modern action horror hybrids. No romantic stares here, just roundhouse kicks and techno music in vampire nightclubs. That is something. Now, while Blade was slicing his way through the undead, the early 2000s gave us Twilight. Yeah, that happened. Suddenly vampires were sparkly, vegetarian, in high school, and apparently into brooding in trees. I watch you sleep every night. Which is definitely romantic and not at all a red flag. Now, say what you want about Twilight, but it redefined the vampire for a whole generation. Vampires became your heartthrobs. No more coffins, just complicated feelings.
I love you. I love you.
No. We'll talk about it soon, okay? I promise, all right?
We need to have a serious talk.
And dramatic staring contests. And of course, we can't forget about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. A cheerleader with a stake and sass. She wasn't running from vampires. She was beating them up. While delivering punchlines. Who does that? Slay the undead, then worry about algebra? Buffy's world turned vampire lore into a soap opera and Monster of the Week adventure. It was dramatic, campy, brilliant. So, why do we keep telling vampire stories? Why, in 2025, are we still obsessed with the undead? Well, vampires are the ultimate shapeshifters, not just in the turn into a bat kind of way, but in how they fit into whatever era they're in. They can be monsters, metaphors, tragic lovers, or even anti-heroes. They're eternal outsiders, and we kinda love that. They don't age, they don't pay taxes, and they sleep all day. What? Honestly, living the dream. You've got modern spins like What Do We Do in the Shadows, a mockumentary about a bunch of ridiculous vampires trying to get by in Staten Island.
I was once a warlord.
Now I cannot work the remote control.
Or Castlevania, where vampires are anime warlords, or Hotel Transylvania, where they are voiced by Adam Sandler, and worry about booking vacation packages. The vampire has become whatever we want it to be. Scary, silly, sexy, sad, sometimes all at once. And that is why they never really die. Or, even if you stake them, they'll be back in a reboot. Alright, now, to close things off, I thought we would do something a little different. Imagine a late night talk show, but the guest is Dracula. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My next guest needs no introduction. He's the fantastic legend of the undead, the original night owl, Count Dracula. Thank you. It is a pleasure to be awake, finally. So, Count, how do you feel about how you've been portrayed in pop culture lately? Well, it's a mixed coffin. Some portray me as a romantic figure, others as a sparkling teenager. I mean, really? I have survived wars, plagues, and the invention of garlic bread, and yet this is how I am remembered? Oh, do you have any advice for modern vampires? Yes. Moisturize, sleep well, and never trust anyone who invites you to brunch. Oh, and there you have it. From medieval panic to modern meme, vampires have been haunting our stories for centuries, and they are not going anywhere. So the next time you see something in the shadows, maybe don't check, just turn off the lights, tuck your neck in, and get under the covers, because they don't knock. Okay, that's enough for one night. Thanks for listening to Selkora Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a review, share it with your fellow night creatures, and maybe sleep with one eye open.
Ha 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 ha.